And now, the man who makes Doctor Who look like a small brown stain. It's
Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Greetings everybody. Now today is the type of video I don't normally make for sure, but this was a topic that was raging since last week on International Men's Day, I may add, so that will come into play a bit later on. But if you read the headline here on Twitter, which has been trending for what, 4 or 5 days now, every male character or good role model must have a female replacement, and it's not just James Bond. So this was a comment made by Nick Fletcher, he's a Tory MP, last week. Now what I'll do, I'll play his video, which isn't very long, and then I'll give you my thoughts afterwards. Basically, everything's been taken out of context, and I'll tell you what he actually meant by what he said. So without further ado, let's just play this video quickly.
I'd like to reiterate something that seems to be very topical at the moment, although much more for women than men, and that is the need for men to have their own identity and for masculinity to be something that can be celebrated at times rather than continually vilified. Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equalizer, all replaced by women, and men are left with the Craze and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime? These programmes make crime look cool. Trust me, a lifetime in prison is not cool.
Okay, so where I think it went wrong for Nick here is the fact that he said at the end of his comments that it's programs and films like Ghostbusters, Star Wars, Doctor Who, which I'll mention in a minute, are the cause of why young people go and offend and commit heinous crimes. No, they don't. No. Otherwise, you can go back to any legacy fiction 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and say, oh, they caused people to go out and mass murder or whatever. Nothing like, no, it's completely untrue. I think that's where he stumbled on the end of those comments, and that's why other outlet media just went for the jugular and just said, oh, what you're saying is completely wrong. What I think he said here, there's two things that he said which are worth highlighting, like why do young men commit crime a lot in the UK and maybe all over the world as well, especially America too, and more importantly, what is going on in entertainment at the moment? Why is the male figure, the role model, slowly being erased from entertainment that we love? So just to address the first point, the reason why young men do commit crime, and you can see a lot of studies on this. There's allforkids.org. That's a good website where George W. Bush references fatherlessness and what that leads to. So again, what I can say. And this is what you hear from time and time again, it's going to be how you're brought up, the culture. There's no positive male role model in the house, so it doesn't have to be just your father. It can be an uncle, an older brother, whatever, an adoptive father. It could be any of those. And look, I'm not saying a single woman bringing up her kids just isn't as capable of being a strong role model for her children. Of course they can be, but when you have a male figure also in the mix, it's going to shape that person's upbringing, isn't it? Without a doubt, it's going to. So for me personally, when I was growing up, me and my dad, we used to do a lot of male bonding stuff, like fixing aeroplane kits together, because from a young age I loved aircraft. So when my parents knew that I was into airplanes from an early age, my mum, who conveniently worked at Airfix at the time, would bring home assembly kits for me and my dad to work on. She didn't pay for them, she worked there, so that was really, really good. And also, later on when I was getting older, we would watch episodes of the A-Team every week, the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns. My dad taught me how to weight train, cook, clean, all these sort of things. So at the end of the day, a male influence in my life, such as my dad, helped me to become the person who I am today. On top of that, Spider-Man, a fictional character, written by Stan Lee, drawn by Steve Ditko. I got into those comics from a very young age. My dad actually bought me a lot of comics from an early age, all Marvel, funny enough, because he knew that was one thing that would fire up my imagination. And what I loved about Peter Parker, he was a kid like me, except without the spider powers, in my case. And he was an awkward kid, shy around girls, but he was a science nerd. He was this crime-fighting superhero who cracked jokes all the time. And I loved that. That really resonated with me. So for people to say that positive fictional male role models can't be an influence on your life, that's absolute bullshit. They can be. It's what it does for you at the end of the day. And yes, I do have female role models too. Lara Croft, Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, and more recently, because I've been binge watching it on Netflix, Star Trek Voyager's Captain Catherine Janeway, as played by the brilliant Kate Mulgrew. Now, what I like about her character, she just gets on with the business. She's got a bit of sense of humor, but she doesn't stand there in the spotlight and go, "Oh, look at me, I'm so amazing, I'm a woman, I'm wonderful." None of that bullshit. She just gets on with it. Now, bear that in mind when I talk about Hawkeye later on.
I've lost helm control.
Main power is offline.
Well, let's hope we've got enough speed.
So, yes, the reason why young men are committing crime is a lack of a father figure in their lives. And of course, if you just turn on the UK news, all you hear every day is somebody getting stabbed. And frankly, I'm just sick of it. And this kind of brings me on to what Marvel and Disney are doing at the moment with their content. If you know a lot of TV shows recently on the MCU where they remove firearms, I think it was in Falcon and Winter Soldier that Sam Wilson makes a reference to what's with all the knives. So Marvel are happy to promote knives in their movies, in their TV shows, when knife crime is such a big deal in the UK. So, way to go, Disney and Marvel. Just carry on the positivity right there. So, of course, now you get news outlets like Sky News going after Nick and what he said. And I think, to be fair, Nick was coming from the right place. He just stumbled on how he delivered the message. But I think me and Nick come from a bygone era. I'm a late kid of the 70s. So for me, it was Doctor Who with Tom Baker and John Pertwee. And yeah, going back to Doctor Who, obviously we can't blame Jodie Whittaker for young men committing crimes. Obviously, that's not a true statement. And I like her as an actress, but she's just not Doctor Who to me. And blame Chris Chibnall. That's the guy who ruined the Doctor Who franchise with Jodie Whittaker in the lead role, because he's basically erased 58 years of history. So Peter Davidson, Peter Capaldi, Christopher Eccleston, Matt Smith, those doctors don't matter anymore. And if you saw yesterday's episode, you know why. It's just a travesty. It really is. And that goes to the point that Nick was making before. You've already got an established male character like Doctor Who. Why replace him with a female? Why don't you just have a female equivalent? That's what I say. For every established male character that we have that we love so much, why don't we just have a female equivalent? So case in point, everybody's going on about, we need a female 007. No, you don't. You can just have a female equivalent. In this case, the lovely Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust in the Mission Impossible films. She's perfect. Look at that. You'd have to go any further. Now, this is where the media took pot shots at Mr. Fletcher, and who actually said, in fact, I was making a statement that boys and young men also need positive role models within the media. Just as women do, boys need positive male role models. And that is a point that I will continue to reiterate and never apologize for making. He's absolutely right. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, why am I making a video like this? What does it matter? It's just entertainment. But yes, it is entertainment that I love. I've loved it for over 40 years. And I'll continue to love it, but the way it's going at the moment, it's awful. Take the Hawkeye show, for example. You want to go and watch it for Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton, aka the OG, the proper Hawkeye. But instead, we get Haley Steinfeld, good actress. I wouldn't say she's the best, but she's good. All cutesy wootsy. She's got her origin is told literally in the opening titles of the episodes in animation form. You see her training in a montage, an animated montage, and by the time you get to the episode, she's already established, which is lazy. It doesn't tell me anything. Now, the point I am making, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be the Kate Bishop show. It is no longer about Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. He's being pushed to the side, making way for cutesy wootsy Haley Steinfeld because she's wonderful. She didn't have any need to show us how she trained to become the most lethal assassin since Hawkeye. So bear that in mind when you watch the remaining 4 episodes. And I pity you. There was an article here on the BBC back in 2010 where it says superheroes are poor role models for boys. I kid you not. And it was based on a study of 674 boys by Professor Sharon Lamb, who seemed to conveniently pick, I don't know what offending superheroes she actually chose because it's never mentioned here in this study, which took place in the University of Massachusetts. And basically, she was calling out things like superheroes who, here we go, when not in superhero costume, these particular men exploit women, flaunt bling, and convey their manhood with high-powered guns. And apparently, boys, you know, this is what they like, but apparently this is what she doesn't like. And this is a really, this bit here just made me laugh. Boys could look up to and learn from comic book heroes of the past because of their costumes. They were real people with real problems and many vulnerabilities. No, they're fictional characters with fictional problems and fictional vulnerabilities. They're not real, Sharon Lamb. And she calls herself a professor. Really? Oh boy. So, man, the last thing I'm going to say here, I mean, if you haven't heard of this will blow your mind. So, the new Extremist X-Men Green team members and powers explained. I'm not going to go into the whole article, but this person here is Nature Girl. She goes around, like the rest of her team members do, they go around killing humans to preserve the Earth. That's what they do. So in one particular storyline, Nature Girl finds a dead turtle on a beach. Very sad. And inside a turtle, inside its mouth, there's a piece of paper that says Owen's Grocery, an established business since 1972, Las Vegas. What does she do? She goes all the way to Las Vegas, to that convenience store, and murders the clerk behind the counter. So that is your positive role model right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, yes. So, you know, I thought I'd make this short video. I had to do it because, again, I've been saying this for a long time on my channel now, that male masculinity, and yeah, people are going to go, oh, why are you saying that for? Is being removed from entertainment. Marvel are doing it now, especially, oh my God, Marvel and Disney are like the worst offenders. Remember when Marvel and Paramount, it just used to be those two together? And, you know, there was a beginning to something fantastic with the first Iron Man. But Disney and their shit had to come in and take that all away. Which is no wonder when I was growing up, I hated Disney cartoons. I liked the politically incorrect Warner Brothers cartoons. Way, way more funnier. And of course, you can't watch those anymore unless you buy box sets or unless you go on YouTube and fish them out somewhere. But Disney, oh God. So what they want to do now with the Disney Plus platform going forward, we're going to have Riri Williams, we're going to have Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk. Oh my God, no, please don't. Just read the John Byrne run of She-Hulk. That is far better. And see Mark Ruffalo in that quick teaser of a trailer they showed. He just looked fed up and desecrating Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno and their iterations on that TV series. I hate it all. What Nick Fletcher brought up is an important point. Like me, he values entertainment. He obviously watches a lot of good TV programs and films. And the Ghostbusters 2016, yeah, that wasn't just a replacement of Men. There was a remake of a film that didn't need to be remade, and now they've redone it again as Afterlife, which is actually killing it at the box office, I'm glad to say. And it's actually made more money than the 2016 Ghostbusters in its second or third week at the box office. I think that's hilarious. Now, at the end of the day, folks, I know where Nick Fletcher's coming from. I think he and I are from a certain era, a certain bygone period in time where we both grew up on American pop culture. Look, I've got a few greys in my beard there, got bags under the eyes, got my hair still a bit youthful as much as I can be, but I appreciate where the guy's coming from because, you know, I grew up on things like the Dukes of Hazzard, the Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, awesome show, and they had a strong female character in there as well, but nobody ever talks about Wilma Daring, do they? And, you know, that aside, all joking aside, and of course, yeah, I'm sure like me, Nick likes a bit of Van Halen on the Sunday with the volume maxed up. David Lee Roth, awesome dude, could wear furry boots and still be a ladies' magnet. Diamond Dave, you rule. But at the end of the day, folks, I know some of you are going to be mad in the comments below. That's fine by me. But this, after all, is my YouTube channel. So I can do and say what I want within reason. And this was a reason for me to talk about this today because it is something that makes me mad on a constant basis. The one last thing I want to say, Endgame, which is the film that should have concluded Marvel's MCU of the last 10 years, Kevin Feige wanted to also kill off Captain America, Thor, everybody else, Black Panther probably as well. But luckily, the Russo brothers who were directing the film stepped in and said, that's a dumb idea, you can't do that. So thank God for the voice of reason and logic. I think Spock would approve. And honestly, with the MCU or the MCU, as I'll call it going forward, yeah, just prepared for that mess. It's going to be awful. It's characters nobody wants. You could bring them in as secondary characters to establish leading characters. But Marvel aren't going to listen. Disney don't care because they just want to make money. But very, very soon, that particular IP will implode on itself and I will be laughing from the rooftops. So on that one, folks, if you enjoyed this video today, please give it a like, share it amongst your friends. Do hit that subscribe button if you want to, unsubscribe if you want to as well, and I will see you on the next video.